Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Pro Trade Room Plus and the WASDE report, the 10-Minute Trades Trade Room. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the Trading Director at 10-Minute Trades. Please remember, all the trades we discuss are for educational purposes, so trade carefully, please. Okay, so we're here for the WASDE report this afternoon. Let me get my streaming going. Bear with me 1 second. I apologize. Got to get into the right place here. Okay. So like we said, we are streaming this onto YouTube. This is our stream of the week. So welcome everybody out there on YouTube, and thanks for joining us. Now, there's a couple of interesting things that are going on with this report. Excuse me. This historically has been a report that it has not been appearing on the calendars. Other than recently, what has happened is that investing.com, it's almost like it was an afterthought, but they were putting it on their calendar, and there was no supporting materials or data or anything. So in other words, when you went to investing.com, you just knew that there was a WASDE report. And we've never historically looked at any of the calendars for data or information about the WASDE report. Now, what's interesting is today, it's not even on their calendar. Oh, no, it is. WASDE report, noon. But they just don't have a forecast, and it's because traditionally, I don't think any of the calendars ever figured out what's going to make this report work like a traditional news report. However, what I've noticed is that, we also use Financial Juice Pro as one of our calendars and Squawk Box. Now, they're putting very specific data on their calendar that we really haven't had a history with yet, to see if this data is what's going to drive the markets that we're trading. So we'll keep an eye on the new way that they're doing the calendar, because this is pretty recent. In other words, they started doing this maybe 4 months ago or so. They started doing it 4 months ago. Now, Caesar's saying that there's no session template in your ZS chart. I'm not going to know if there's no session template, Caesar. I'm not going to know the answer. I have trading hours, right? Session templates, and you just put it on 24/7. I can't imagine why that would create an error. And let's see if mine is default 24/7. That's what Jay's talking about. Apply it, okay it, and there you have it. That's all you have to do. So I don't really know what kind of error would be created with a session template, but if it's still not allowing you to do that, you want to email platform support at ninjatrader.com regarding that. But what Caesar's relating to is that the DMM makes a comment about looking at grain charts. When you set your sessions template to 24/7, it will display the pivots and moving averages properly. It has to do with the times that corn and that grains trade. And there was confusion in one of the recent trade rooms. If you don't set the session template, it should have no bearing on anything. It just means that you will not see your pivots and your indicators that use time. They may not return the values you expect. So, and that's because of the hours that the grains trade. Okay. So, but I don't know. I would have no idea why that would create an error or why that would be missing from a chart. That would be something you just have to take up with NinjaTrader. I've never had an issue where a template for trading time wasn't there or that it created an error. In other words, to change the template, you just go to data series, you right click your chart, you go to trading hours, and then if you put your template on default 24/7, apply it and okay it, then all it does is reset your pivots and any indicator, moving averages that use time to calculate. That's what it does. In all the years that I've been doing this, I have never, ever set my session templates for this trade. So it does not affect the trade. But if you're a serious indicator studier for technical analysis, that's the point being made with the session template 24/7. Okay. Now, so there is a possibility that a calendar is now going to help with the results on the WASDE report. Over the years, we never had any information from any calendar that would help us with the trade. Okay. So it's always been a trade that we never looked at a news result, and we dealt with it that way, and it's been fine. It has not been a big problem. Now, if you look at the DMM, corn as a breakout is not a recommended setup at the moment. Okay. Now, I don't know. We did trade WASDE, but it was 12.9. I remember what happened was we did trade it, and we did have a trade room for it. And it was a very, very dull move. So what happened was we got the date. We were incorrect by 1 day on the date, and we just traded it the next day. It was no problem. So I think there was a little bit confusion between myself and Jay when he was creating the DMM. But he looked at the event anyway, and it was pretty dull that day. Now, we do have a trap trade setup that we're using on corn, and that's the way I will trade it today. I will trade the trap trade on corn with WASDE, and there also is, we do not recommend at this point in time, we don't recommend using the soybean trap trade. Okay. We would not recommend the soybean trap trade right now, not today. And you can use the soybean breakout trade. But know this, soybeans are much whippier, and I know the DMM looks fantastic, but these are very short spikes. If you read in between the lines on these trades, there's a lot of spiking up and down taking place on soybeans. So you do want to be careful. You do want to be careful. The breakout has been working on soybeans, but there's no question that soybeans are a lot whippier than corn. I've traded corn probably 90% of the time on this event over the years. It's just a little bit less volatile than beans, but we've had plenty of months where we traded the soybeans as well. Corn went through a period a couple of years ago where it was pretty quiet. Arthur, you know, if you want to know about margin, where are you going to find that out? Right? Who's your broker? Its margin is going to be related to your broker. Corn, usually soybeans, 2000. They're not going to raise the margin. They've never raised the margin on this report. I'll tell you briefly if you go, you know, in the trade room, Arthur, there's a file called margins, and you're able to go to your either Ninja Trader. If you're a Ninja Trader customer, there's a link in the report for going to Ninja Trader's website for the margins. Let's see what their margins are. It's ballpark $2,000, I believe, for corn and soybeans per contract, full size. Let me double check. So when you go to the document that's in the trade room file folder, if you click on order desk margin updates, you'll get this screen, and then you click here for margins. You can make it a little bit bigger so you can see it. And then you got to scroll down. So corn is $24.75 per contract. And then you've got soybeans, $39.60 per contract. And there is a mini that we have never traded. I'm not sure about the volatility, the liquidity on the mini. There's mini corn at XC. Okay, there is a mini corn at XC. Have not experimented with it. We've always traded the full size on this particular report. So you're looking at soybeans are almost 4,000 per contract. Corn, 2,500 roughly per contract. And then the mini, and again, I have no idea on liquidity, on XC is about 500 per contract. All right, so let's look at the DMM. So I'm setting up a trap trade for corn that I'm going to trade, and they should not be, it's not on their list. It's not on their list of trades that they raise the margin for, Arthur. So it's not on the list. You check the trade, the calendar. Remember, Ninja has the calendar. When you go to margins, updates, the trade desk calendar shows you the reports where they're raising the margin. And this report is not on the calendar, okay? Friday's employment report was on it, and CPI and PPI will be on it. So right now you don't have any reports in the next day or two that you have to worry about extra margin. The grains are a little bit expensive on margin. Soybeans, I'm not surprised they're almost 4,000. It's not a surprise. They are, that's proof that they are whippy, that they can be volatile. So the trap trade I'm going to use on corn is going to be, for me, it's going to be as follows. I'm going to use tiers of 18 and 32. It's a 12 o'clock event, 18 and 32. 7-second activation prep. 7-second. Okay, 7-second. There's a mini corn XC. We've never used it, never checked liquidity on it. So I have no idea, honestly, about how it'll trade. You know, you could sim it and see how it trades, but it's not a micro that we've ever traded. Okay. And it's about 500 per contract. And I did not see a micro or a mini soybeans. So I've got a stop. I'm using a stop of 25 on my trap trade. Stop of 25, tiers of 18 and 32. It's a 12 noon event. An activation time of 7 seconds. And I'm trading it. That's my setup. Let's take a look at a video. Soybeans, there is a DMM also. We used 18 and 32 last month. Okay. 18 and 32. Got enough time clocks on there, don't we? So we used 18 and 32. And there was virtually, you know, maybe something is amiss. Hang on one second. So when we went to December 9th, there just wasn't that much of a move. Okay. We were there, we traded it, just nothing much happened. So sometimes that'll happen. That's the first really, really, really quiet WASDE. I'm not changing our WASDE setup just because we had 1 month in December that it was quiet. Okay. You know, if you have 2 or 3 that all of a sudden there's a big change in the way that WASDE works, then you can consider a smaller setup. But there's no reason to change a setup just because you have 1 trade that doesn't have a fantastic response. You don't change the whole ball game over 1 setup. I'm going to check my time sync. Everything that happens, you should put in your journal, right? Everything that happens should be noted in your journal so you can look back and see what's going on. Okay. Now, 2 months ago, we were using a similar setup, okay? 18 and 32, and it's been working, all right? It has been working. We have quite a few events that we've had profit opportunities for a trap trade. It's a 12 o'clock event. And look, if all of a sudden WASDE's becoming a small mover, Hang on. Folks, I'm going to be quiet for 1 second. Just bear with me. Bear with me. All right? I'm going to try and do something if I can. Hang loose. Chantal, that makes no sense whatsoever. No sense whatsoever. That your software is not authorized. There's no way that that should be the case. So what I'm telling you is this. Reboot your Ninja, or I don't know if you can check it right now again. I just fixed it. Hang loose, folks. Fred, yours should be fine also. I don't know if, look, my trade's ready to go. So bear with me here. No reason whatsoever for an issue. Unless something happened and one of your machines changed. If your machine, for any reason, changed its machine ID, then something like that can happen. If for some reason you had a BIOS upgrade that you didn't realize, something of that sort could create that kind of an issue. But it really, you would know if something like that happened. Fred, I'll tell you this, you should try it again. I don't know if you have time to reboot your computer, but I absolutely fixed it if there was an issue. So talking about the DMM now, let's check our time sync. Make sure our time is in sync. Time sync looks good. And then if you're interested absolutely in trading soybeans, there is a DMM setup. There is a DMM setup for soybeans. It's a bracket of 20, all right? An activation of 11:59:58. On soybeans, you've got a bracket of 20. You've got targets of 9 and 21. And that's probably quite appropriate given last month, small move. The stop is 30 because soybeans can be very, very active, okay? And that would be the soybean setup. Okay. You got a soybean setup there. Bracket of 20, breakout trade, 11:59:58, targets of 9 and 21 with a stop of 30. Okay. Count warnings off. And my label just says soybeans. I'm not trading soybeans. I've got a trap trade ready to go live on corn. That's what I'm trading. I don't anticipate, I anticipate a fill. That's what I think. I think I'll see a fill. What's happening on the calendar is they're actually talking about WASDE just like it was a regular news report, which we've never seen before. So maybe they have, done their homework and their research about what element of the report they can hone in on, and it's going to affect the markets that we're trading the most. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Now, just testing that soy breakout, the bracket size. Just to test a quick bracket size. Whoops. By putting my time on. Let's see if I make my time 0. Okay, there's my brackets. All right. That way I know my charts are ready to go for the soybeans. Fred, I changed the date. That's all I did. I don't know, but it was a correct date. It makes no sense that it didn't work. Absolutely no sense whatsoever. Same thing on yours, Chantal. I did the same thing. Makes absolutely no sense because it was correct. But, we find this sometimes with files. The files can be strange. Things happen that make no sense. All right, so we've got about 3 minutes for the news to come out. So this is the WASDE report. It is a grain report. And it's unusual. Last month, there just was not a big response. Normally, the biggest responses are coming up. Next month, the month after, are usually big responses as they start planting. And I'm a little bit surprised that there was a small response last month because the war in Ukraine has had a very big effect on grain pricing. And I do want to thank all the folks that are watching us on YouTube. If you'd hit that like button, we'd really appreciate it. It helps our streams get more views. And if you hit the notification bell, you'll know the next time we're streaming also. So in another minute and a half or so, our orders are going to show up on the chart. And we'll see if we've got a trap trade. Make sure that you can see all your buttons on the trap trade. You got BE, close, adjust, cancel, and combine. If you can't see all your buttons, you need to spread your chart wider. Okay, that's why sometimes you might not be able to see all your buttons. So it's interesting, they're going to talk about corn first. Corn end stocks is what they call it. And you've got corn end stocks, soybean end stocks, and they also look at cotton, which is a future we never traded. We've never traded cotton. Maybe cotton is something we should look at. Not sure, we'd have to look at it a little bit and see what the liquidity is on cotton, if it's tradable. Not just because there's an instrument doesn't mean 100% that it's tradable. It just means that there's a future for it until you do a little research and check into it, right? So there's my orders on the chart. So you could see that beans move a little bit early. Something is going on with WASDE, folks, where we're not getting a very big, the report. This is 2 months in a row with virtually no response. We're going to have to do a rethink. I think we're just going to have to sit tight for next month. Next month is a bigger, much bigger potential move. I'm not canceling yet. Now, soybeans look like they have a nice winning trade. If you can get enough profit out of that, it looks like soybeans are going to give you a trade there. Smaller bracket would have been better, a 12 bracket. I would cancel the corn trade. The whole idea of a trap trade is a reversal trade, folks, right? We're not getting it. We don't have a candle to reverse. I don't have a candle to reverse here. You know, it's over a minute. The news is out. This is not, something's going on with WASDE. There's no question that it's not quite the way it's been. We may have to go to soybeans for a couple of months. I mean, that's the truth. So I'm going to cancel. There's no real move to reverse here for the trap trade at the moment. So I'm canceling corn. Soybeans. Who traded soybeans? Anyone? Did anyone trade soybeans? It looks like they would have worked. The question is, how much profit did you have in there? How much profit did you have in there? GCAT, yes, we like to trade live when we feel that the event gives you an opportunity for profit, GCAT. That's the whole deal. If the event gives us an opportunity for profit, we are trading it, okay? We're going to trade it. Now, of course, there's a possibility to reverse your soybeans. Remember what we did on oil, right? The oil trade. But you've got a lot of downward pressure on soybeans right now. So you want to be careful, all right? There's a lot of downward pressure. Corn, there's no pressure. There was no trade. There was no trade. Now, what's interesting is Financial Juice had negative soybean news, all right? Soybeans went down. At least what I think is negative soybean news. I'm going to have to look into this a little more. Corn, they're showing it as negative and positive. They have two, no, corn they're showing as positive. So we'll have to look into what those values are based on. It looks like that if you traded soybeans, you had a really nice breakout trade, really slow and relaxing if you stayed in long enough to trade it. So WASDE just been behaving very unusual, very unusual. You know, there's not much I can say other than the fact that, you know, we have a setup that has worked month after month after month, except now we have 2 months in a row where our setup has been too large to get filled. So we have to think about what's going on and make a decision as to what we're going to do next month. No question that our soybean bracket was too big, but there's room for profit. It looks like there's room for profit. It was a 5-point bracket, 20, and profit went, you know, you had well more than 10 points of movement, okay? 12 points. Chantal, I don't mean too big. I mean, we just didn't get a move. We just didn't get a large enough move. I mean, it didn't fill us. There was no move. our brackets, it's like the brackets are too big, too spread apart. But soybeans were great. So who traded soybeans? Langford, how many ticks of profit did you get? How many ticks of profit? Well, we can make the tiers smaller if we think the whole trade is just getting smaller. We can do everything smaller. But if it goes back to normal, then you're in danger of getting blasted through your stops. What I would be more prone to do based on the current behavior is go back to a breakout trade on soybeans temporarily and see what happens next month. I think next month there's the potential for a much bigger move because we're getting into the planting seasons much more seriously. But soybeans had a good move. It was just very slow. WASDE, look, lots of trades change. Things change. We have to change it. We have to change with it. We have to change with it. So that's what we'll do. That's what we'll do. Any questions? Any questions? You know, it's like Chantal is saying, it's not that our settings were too big. If there's not a proper move, you know, based on over a year of settings, there's not a lot you can do if it happens like it happened just now. There's not much you can do. We can definitely trade soybeans next month as a breakout. That we can do. And if I did, what I would do is shrink the bracket to 12 ticks, maybe even 10, maybe even 10. But we'll talk about that next month. And you know what? You know the deal. We're not going to go cry in a corner. And in fact, we'll be back at 12:30 for the 10-year bond auction. And it's very funny, Langford increased his bracket to 25 because Langford's been here and he knows the way that soybeans can move on this report. I'm not joking when I said that soybeans can be very volatile. We're very serious. You know, we don't make this stuff up. We don't make this stuff up. Arthur, 12:30, 20 minutes. We'll be back for the 10-year bond auction, folks, in 20 minutes, okay? So go have yourself a quick sandwich or hit that bottle of whiskey if that's what you're up to these days. And I'll see everybody. I'll see everybody at 12:30. All right. Arthur, I wish I had your confidence about bonds definitely being a mover. I mean, we never know. Yes, maybe. You know, maybe. We never know. All right, everyone. We'll be back. Langford, you're the only one that traded. Larry was on Sim. Larry, what the heck? Larry, what the heck? What are you doing on Sim? What are you doing on Sim, Larry? And thank you, everybody, for watching us on YouTube. We'll see you next week for the stream of the week. Thank you so much. And hit that like button on your way.